Well, after 9 seasons, Friendship is Magic has finally come to an end. It's just so surreal that something that's been with me since I was a freshman in college is over. In less than a decade, it's had over 200 episodes, 2 hour-long specials, a theatrical movie, YouTube shorts, tons of comics and fan projects, and an entire spin-off series which also had a ton of shorts and comics. And it was consistently good. Even the worst episodes have something worth liking about them. But now that it's over, I think it's finally time to look at my favorites. But the thing is, back in 2014, I already did a video looking at my favorite episodes from seasons 1 through 4, and I still think that list is pretty accurate. So instead of going over my favorites for the whole series, we'll be going over my favorites from seasons 5 onward. Not just because I already covered my favorites from the first 4, but because the two halves do feel different to me. Whether you want to call seasons 5 through 9 the Starlight Glimmer era, the Discovery Family era, or as I do, the post-college era, as all but 6 episodes aired after I graduated from university, they do have a bit of a different feel. I've done lists for every season, whether it's in video form or on DeviantArt, but there is some switching around as some episodes I like more now. Also, I'm not including Best Gift Ever or Rainbow Road Trip. I love them both, but putting them in here feels like cheating. Before we start, here are my honorable mentions. There, now let's begin. These are my top 20 favorite episodes of Friendship is Magic seasons 5 through 9. Oh, and I'm not holding back on spoilers. Number 20. Sounds of Silence. This is the best one-writer wonder story ever. The guy who wrote this, Gregory Bonsingnore, only wrote this one episode, and it's one of the most beloved episodes of the whole series. Everyone loves it, and for good reason. The song is great, the humor is on point, Rachel Bloom is fantastic as Autumn Blaze, the character of Autumn Blaze is just a delight, but for me, the thing that brings this episode to the top 20 is the lesson. The moral that while we all have anger, it is how we express that anger that is important. You can't just get rid of anger, but you can control how you let it out. This is such an important lesson in today's world, with politics and social media just being a cesspool. I really wish more people would take this lesson to heart and not just shout or yell at people just because you're angry. With how many people are getting incredibly angry and making things worse, it makes me appreciate this episode even more. And because this episode conveyed that so perfectly, that's why it gets on the list.
Who's Fluttershy? Oh, did you name your shadow? Mine's called Silhouette Gloom of the Sundown Lands.
Number 19. Shadow Play. This has got to be one of the most ambitious season finales I've seen in a show with a TV-Y rating. It does so much world building and adds a bunch to the lore of the show. When this show started out, it seems they didn't put much thought into continuity. Now the season 7 finale is bringing in Starswirl the Bearded, a character who has been mentioned constantly since season 2. And the other pillars are interesting, and getting to know them throughout the season made it so we weren't bogged down by exposition. I love Twilight and Starlight's roles in this. Twilight messes up, but understandably, and undoes everything in her power and with the help of her friends to fix the mistake. And Starlight has learned so much and has the added burden of being a reformed villain. And the Pony of Shadows, something that once again was brought up seasons ago, is just cool. I love his design, his voice, and the fact that he's just this manifestation of evil. So while it's not my favorite finale, I really respect it for everything it did.
Yes, a good thought, Twilight.
Number 18. To Where and Back Again. Think about how different this finale was and how many risks it took. The main 6 and Spike are barely in it, they're taken out off screen. The characters we follow all used to be villains. Their leader is Starlight, whose reformation was very controversial, and it has no songs. This is the first finale to not have one. This seems like it was practically made for fans to hate it, and yet it's one of the best finales this show has ever had. First off, it is suspenseful. It sets up that none of the characters can use their magic while in the hive, so they have to rely on sneaking around like a video game. Starlight shows she's a great leader by knowing how to use Trixie and Discord's talents and personalities to create distractions. The 4 work well off each other, with Trixie and Discord getting some of the biggest laughs. I'm still annoyed that they never really interacted after this. There's also a kind of creepy atmosphere, especially in the first part. And while the ending may have been a bit of a Deus Ex Machina, it's still satisfying. Season 6 seems to be the most disliked season of all of them, but honestly, with how good this finale was, I can't agree. This finale was awesome.
It is absolutely ridiculous that that worked.
Number 17. The Main Attraction, the final episode by Amy Keating Rogers, and a great note to go out on. This episode is just nice, it's sweet, it may be a bit cliche with the just be yourself moral and mocking hyper-glamorized processed pop music, but it's done well. I love Ra-Ra, she never comes across like a bad guy, she's just doing what she is told to do by her manager, and even with the persona, she still visits the kids and tries to bond with Applejack. Speaking of Applejack, she is probably the best this character has ever been in this episode. The villain is despicable. I hated him. The songs are great. Equestria, the Land I Love is a really good anthem for this world. Spectacle is a perfect parody of over-processed pop music, and the magic inside is so beautiful, and I love the lyrics. And Lena Hall has phenomenal singing voice. Add in some funny Pinky moments and a great ending, we have a great send-off for one of the show's best writers.
Just like the magic inside of you.
Number 16. Stranger Than Fanfiction. This has the best moral in the entire series. The moral that you don't have to like a certain thing, or you may not necessarily agree on what makes a certain thing good, doesn't mean you can't be friends. With social media and just the general attitude when it comes to media criticism, that message is so important. But besides that, it's also just a great adventure story, definitely my favorite Daring Do episode. The action scenes are fun, the comedy is on point, and all the Indiana Jones homages from puzzles to crazy set pieces are wonderful. Then of course there's Quibblepants. I love everything about this guy. I love his pretentious attitude, Patton Oswalt gives a great performance, and even though he could be kind of a jerk, he's smart. Rainbow Dash is at her best and gives some of her most humorous expressions, plus the little jokes at con and fan culture are clever and come across as playful, good-natured mockery and not hateful. I said this before, but of all the episodes, I think this is the one that people should watch. Not to get into the show, but just because I think the moral can legit make the world a bit of a better place.
And that is everything that's wrong with Daring Do and the Trek to the Terrifying Tower.
Number 15. Marks and Recreation. Am I the only one who loves this episode? I mean, I can't find anyone who dislikes it, but it seems I'm the only one who really loves it. I love it because I can understand both sides. With the CMC, it's a good idea to create a camp so these young ponies can find their special talent. However, I could see Rumble's point of view too. What if you get a cutie mark and something you don't really like or something you really love doing isn't your special talent? I remember being a kid and thinking that when you grow up and get a job, that was all you would do for the rest of your life. So this episode kind of taps into that childlike mentality. I really love the relationship between Rumble and Thunderlane. I think this is the only positive representation we've seen between two brothers, but they kind of remind me of my brother and myself. And then there's the song. It's upbeat, catchy, and while Vincent Tong's Rumble's voice isn't the best for singing, there's still a charm to it. I don't know why, I seem to be in the minority of people who love this one, but of all 20 episodes on this list, this one is the most underrated.
The key is to remain calm. Cutie marks make you special!
Number 14. The Last Crusade. This episode got a lot of hype for two reasons. One, we finally get to meet Scootaloo's parents, and two, there is a canonically gay couple. But while those things are great, the main reason I love this episode is that it's a love letter to the CMC. This shows not only how far they've come, but how many lives they've helped. Seeing all the cameos from past episodes like Babs, Gabby, Terramar, Big Mac and Sugar Belle, Diamond Tiara, Bulk Biceps, Tender Taps, Feather, Bangs, and whoever the hell this is, it really proves that they are some of the best characters on the show. They're kids, and they've made a huge difference in the lives of all these characters. The story itself has some good laughs and the feels, and while the ending may be a little too optimistic, giving kids who are told they'll have to move away a false sense of hope, it's still an episode that acts like a great conclusion to the CMC's story arc.
We are chained to this post, and nothing and no pony is gonna move us, no matter what.
Number 13. The Hearths Warming Club. This is just nice. That's the word to describe it. It's just nice. Something you can just sit back, watch, and have some good laughs, some cute moments, and all with some beautiful Christmassy animation. This was the first episode to give the Student 6 the solo focus for the entire time, and I think it shows why I think they were a good addition. I love their friendship. I think it actually came across as less forced than the main 6 did in the pilot. And because they're younger, it's a bit more believable when they have arguments over petty stuff. We learn the traditions of all these different cultures. Some of them lead to laughs like Smolder Shoulders, which was hilariously dark, or Sambar's epic tale of how his hearthwarming doll almost went into the fire. Silverstream's has some good world building and continuity with the movie, and Yona's and Ocellus are just really sweet. Then Gallus reviewing that he's an orphan got me so hard, and I didn't see it coming when he revealed he calls the prank. It was so sad, and then when every creature agrees to stay just so he'll have his friends over the holidays, it's also nice. Getting personal, I really needed an episode like this back when it first aired. I was going through a rough patch as this was shortly after the worst week. I needed a cute episode like this, and while not my favorite heartwarming episode, it's still a great one.
Hey, this reminds me of another story. The time I almost spilled grape juice on the white couch.
Number 12. Slice of Life, the 100th episode of the show, and a huge thank you to the fans. Instead of focusing on the main six or the CMC or Spike like most episodes, they decided to make an episode about the background characters that fans had spent almost 5 years creating names and backstories for. There's a huge charm to how all out they went with the fan pandering, from having a music battle between DJ Pon3 and Octavia, to having Lyra and Bonbon interact and Bonbon being a secret agent, to Derpy and Doctor Who's being good friends. All of these work in the context of the episode and are funny on their own, but they're even funnier if you know the fandom and all the stories and backstories they created for these characters. They even give some development to supporting characters like having Luna and Celestia argue, or making Shining Armor a crier at weddings. And all of this is put in a story that is so well paced and written. They don't stay on one character for too long, and everything is held together by the wedding. It's funny, thoroughly entertaining, and has a great ending that makes you realize how great not only the world of the show is, but the fan base can be at its best. There is nothing but love put into every aspect of this episode, and I still love it over 4 years later.
I need my ring today, no matter the cost! As long as it doesn't cost any extra.
Number 11. The Big Mac Question. This is just a Daw episode. The entire last 5 minutes of this episode made me squee. I love Big Mac and Sugar Belle. They're just the most adorable couple I've ever seen. Both their ways of proposing are adorable, with Big Mac wanting to do a scavenger hunt and Sugar Belle putting notes in pies. Both are cute, but in the end they learn that just a simple proposal is the best. It's a very unpredictable episode. I didn't expect it to involve a giant sentient apple made of a bunch of smaller sentient apples, and the way they're able to mix both these stories together is clever. There's some great comedy, this is one of Discord's best appearances, and Spike and Mrs. Cake going at it was funny. Then it all ends with the wedding, with Applejack crying and a cameo from Burnt Oak and the Old Mares, and also Double Diamond, Party Favor, and Night Glider. This got me, because it shows how close these four really are. This is one of the most adorable episodes of the show, and a great final slice of life episode before the finale.
So I thought I'd use as many words as possible to propose to him. All he has to say is...
Yup.
Number 10. The Fault in Our Cutie Marks. This is probably one of the most well done episodes in the show. Pretty much everything about it works. The writing is great, the voice acting is great, there's no character inconsistencies or dumb decisions, and it's paced so well. I genuinely can't find a single thing to even nitpick about this episode. The CMC are at their best, helping some creature who needs them, even though they don't even know if a griffin can get a cutie mark. Gabby is not only adorable, like you just want to reach in and hug her, she's so cute, but she's just nice and helpful and good at a lot of things. She's awesome, and even when she has her dreams crushed, she puts in the effort to make the CMC feel better before making herself feel better. The song is great. It's similar to Hearths as Strong as Horses in that it sounds like a battle song. And the ending is so sweet. I love that they didn't cop out by actually giving Gabby a cutie mark. She knows her purpose and became a cutie mark Crusader and doesn't need a stamp on her flank to tell her that. Seriously, even though this episode is only number 10, I can't find a single flaw with it. It is that good.
What do you think my mark will be? A lightning bolt? An erupting volcano? I don't care if it's a jar of marmalade!
Number 9. The Summer Sun Setback. Yet another episode I struggle to find one thing wrong with. It's almost too perfect. There's tons of continuity nods, from Shining Armor's defenses still being up, to Twilight finally being prepared to take over for Luna and Celestia, to her delegating, showing she learned her lessons from between Dark and Dawn, and they even mentioned Twilight's meltdown from A Trivial Pursuit. I love the stuff with the villains. They manage to be so funny but also intimidating, and they're smart. Cozy knows how to manipulate, Chrysalis is able to be their master of disguise, Tyr sure it can weaken ponies to create distractions without raising too much suspicion. And then there's the stuff with the main 6 and Spike, where we see Twilight has finally matured enough that she doesn't freak out when something goes wrong. Discord is great, and they managed to fit all these characters into 22 minutes without feeling rushed. It's paced perfectly, and it has an ending that hypes you up for what's to come later. This episode is just so boringly perfect that I can't think of what else to say.
I want to make sure it's the best celebration ever.
Please don't give us more work. Please don't give us more work.
Number 8. The Washouts. This is one of the funniest episodes of any TV show I have ever seen in my life. From Rainbow spying on her own fan club, to Short Fuse losing his temper at the smallest things, to all the crazy faces the characters make. Then there's Spitfire's speech, which was so funny that I actually was starting to get tears in my eyes because I was laughing so hard. Just on the basis of being a comedy, this episode is one of the best. But then it's also a really good Rainbow Scootaloo episode. I love Rainbow's conflict, knowing that Scoots has a new group she's interested in after years of being her #1 fan. And while her ego has been hit, she does seem to care more about that Scoots will get hurt rather than just wanting her to be her biggest fan again. The scene where Scootaloo tells Rainbow that she'll never be a Wonderbolt because she can't fly broke my heart. And I love the Washouts group. Rolling Thunder is a badass, Short Fuse is hilarious, and I like that they use the same model from Top Bolt. And it's great to see Lightning Dust again, and I like that, just like with Wonderbolt Academy, she isn't just a straight up evil character, she just doesn't have much care for rules or safety. I love this. Nick Confalone is, in my opinion, the best comedic writer the show had. This, Saturday Review, and She Talks to Angel got more laughs out of me than most comedies I see.
You're gonna find out it's pretty hard to stunt tricks in a full-body wing and hook cast, dragging through a straw.
Number 7. Crusaders of the Lost Mark. This episode aired on the show's 5th anniversary, and I can think of no better way for the show to celebrate half a decade on the air than by closing out one of its biggest story arcs. After 5 seasons of the CMC trying everything to get their cutie marks, they finally got them, and the feeling I felt more than any other is something I can't say I felt for many fictional characters. Proud. I felt proud that they had finally gotten the thing they worked so hard to get. Besides that, the episode is also a musical, and a great one at that. I love pretty much every song. It doesn't quite reach the heights of Pinky Pride, but all the songs are catchy, fun, and help move the story along. And they even found time to redeem Diamond Tiara. Some may say it was too rushed, and maybe it is, but the emotion is there. I was so close to tearing up near the end of it because I was just so happy. I remember the day I watched this, I had to go work at Walmart immediately afterward, and the positive emotions I had for this episode actually helped me get through it very easily. I love this episode, and still one of the best anniversaries this show has had. Number 6. Parental Glideance. So earlier I said The Washouts was one of the funniest episodes of any television show I've ever seen. Well, this episode is even funnier. Every single joke in this episode lands. The timing, the voice acting, the animation are all perfect for the humor. I laughed at every joke, and most of them made me laugh hard. But just like The Washouts, there is a genuinely sweet story surrounding all the humor. I understand both sides. With Rainbow, it is embarrassing to have your parents be so supportive, even if you don't win, but on the other hoof, it is nice to have your confidence build up. And in the end, they both learn a lesson. And then there's Scoots, who almost never had any pony cheering her on. At the time, I thought it was because they were dead, but now of course we know it's because their job keeps them away for long stretches of time. That ending puts a huge smile on my face every time I watch it. Seeing Scoot's face and how happy she is just... oh, several episodes I've already talked about you could say are objectively better than this. This one does have its problems, like Rainbow's outbursts felt forced, but I still think this is not only one of the funniest episodes, but one of the best.
Come on, Bolts! Let's start this thing!
Number 5. Surf and/or Turf, my favorite CMC episode. It may not have changed the status quo like Crusaders of the Lost Mark, had the feels of Flight to the Finish, or was just so incredibly cute like a Fault in Our Cutie Marks, but everything about this episode is great. First, it's funny. It's not the most hilarious episode of the show, but it consistently got laughs out of me. I like Terramar and his conflict. This is basically a metaphor for having parents who are divorced, and you trying to decide if you want to stay with mom or dad. Both Mount Eris and Sequestria have qualities he loves, much like how there are things about both parents you like more, but you wouldn't want to give up one, and in the end he learns that he can keep going back and forth between the two. The CMC are great too, and their fight is believable, as I can understand why Sweetie Belle would fall in love with a place like the Harmonizing Heights, and when Scootaloo says that being a sea pony is just like flying, my heart broke. That was so bittersweet. And I like that their fight doesn't last long, and that song, easily in my top 5, possibly top 3 of the whole series. Add in some continuity with the movie and some geeky Twilight moments, and you have my pick for the best CMC episode of the entire show.
Both my children are so smart. Would you like to see their baby pictures? Mom!
That sounds adorable!
Number 4. Sparkle 7, an episode brought to us from the ideas by the 5 main voice actresses and structured perfectly by Josh Haber and Nicole Dubuc. Let's really think how badly this episode could have turned out. The voice actresses all came up with wildly different ideas that they wanted their characters to do, and they had to make all these ideas fit into one episode, and it works perfectly. The main plot focuses on a childhood rivalry between Shining and Twilight, and everything else spirals from that. The story itself is paced so well and actually got me invested. Like, I wanted to see Twilight win, and I just love cocky older brother Shining Armor. Plus the competition things makes their relationship feel more real. Usually they're a bit too nice and perfect. It's consistently funny, with Zephyr getting some of the biggest laughs. I don't care what anyone says, this character is hilarious. The twist genuinely surprised me, and it makes perfect sense when you go back and watch it again. There's the theme of sibling relationships, as not only do we have Shining Armor and Zephyr Breeze, but Maud, Celestia, and Luna going at it, and even Big Mac and Apple Bloom in a flashback. Or fantasy. We don't know if Applejack made that whole thing up. And the ending with Spike finally being told that he's their little brother, that was so cute and sweet and made me just so happy. This episode is fantastic, but if I have one nitpick, how have the Royal Guard gotten worse over the years? Like, was Flash Magnus that bad of a drill sergeant? Or was Shining Armor the only reason they were even slightly competent?
You'll be sibling supreme forever.
Number 3. A Hearth-Swarming Tale. This is one of the best holiday episodes I've ever seen. This episode feels like Christmas. It has the same feel to me as Arnold's Christmas. The atmosphere is so good that I just look at it and think Christmas. The music, the animation, the colors, the lighting, everything about it just brings that holiday feel. The story is a pony retelling of A Christmas Carol and does a great job in bringing that story into this world. Like that the bad ending being that the Wendigos will bring eternal winter. All the characters match their respective Christmas Carol counterparts. Applejack is the ghost of the past, Pinky of the present, Luna of the future. It was the perfect episode for Starlight at that time. She needed to hear a story like this when it aired. And then there's the songs. I love every single one of them. They range from fun and upbeat to menacing to dreary and foreboding. I love this episode. I wanted to live in it. We had a lot of Hearth-Swarming episodes through the series. All of them were great, but this was my favorite. It just perfectly encaptures the feel of the holiday, and I adore it.
And the reason is to be with your friends. And the reason is to be with your friends.
Number 2. The ending of the end and the last problem. Yeah, I'm putting both of them together. They aired on the same day, and it's my list and I can do what I want. This is a good finale. It gave me pretty much everything I was hoping for. It concludes the Season 9 story arc of the Legion of Doom, and while I was originally caught off guard by Discord being Grogar, the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. After all, the villains weren't freed in the premiere until after Discord saw Twilight having a breakdown. Either way, it's a good conclusion with the 3 villains being intimidating, but also funny, able to manipulate the Earth Ponies, Unicorn, and Pegasi to fight until the students brought them together. And then all the creatures come together, which is basically a conclusion to like 4 seasons of story arcs, giving the moral that making friends will make you safer in the end. This 2-parter just feels like a series finale. And then we get to the last problem, one of the most emotional episodes of the show. The theme of change is very relevant to me as I've been going through a lot of that lately, and the moral that friendships need to be maintained to stay together is the perfect message to end the series. I love the scenes in the future, from Spike being buff to Applejack wearing Granny's scarf to Pinky and Cheese being married, Fiona and Sandbar being together, the Cake Twins running the bakery, Gallus being a guard, the CMCs being teachers at the school. It just left me crying because I was so happy that they were happy. I spent 9 seasons watching these characters grow and mature and have it all paid off for them. It just got me, along with that beautiful song, and I love how integrated Canterlot is now with all these different creatures. This was a fantastic ending to a fantastic series, but there is one more episode that I think is even better. Number 1. The Perfect Pear. I think the reason I picked this as opposed to the finale is that this episode had a harder job. The finale had 9 years of build up and getting to know the characters, so it had an easier job getting me invested. This episode made me invested in characters I had never seen before. You ever see one of those episodes that you just don't want to end? This is one of them for me. I probably could have watched a 3-hour movie about these two. I love them that much. I care more about Bright Mac and Pear Butter than the main characters in most romantic comedies. And we only knew them for like 20 minutes. Not even that. The Big Mac question is a Daw episode, but this is an episode that just makes me smile. It is so adorable and it makes me like cliches I normally don't. Like that stupid thing where they have the anniversary based on hour instead of years. Normally I find that dumb, but here, it was so sweet. The framing device of having the Apple siblings going around to their parents' old friends and learning about them is smart and gives development to supporting characters we don't know much about, like Mrs. Cake. And then there's the stuff with Grandpear. Speaking as someone whose family members aren't talking to each other because of petty stuff, that really hit hard for me. The dialogue is great, the animation is beautiful, the song is cute, and I just love watching these two. I wanted to hug them and never let them go. This had years of fan speculation on the Apple parents to deal with, and yet it seems everyone loves it. That's how good it is. It brought every fan together, and for me, it is the best episode of the whole series.
And you should not blame me too if I can't help falling in love with you.
And thus ends the run of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, a show that should not have been as good as it is, for several reasons. But it managed to last 9 seasons, keep a consistent quality, and end on a high note. Again, thank you to all the people involved who made the show possible. Lauren Faust, the directors, writers, voice actors, music people, animators. You all created something special that helped me through some very rough times. I look forward to more adventures in the comics and whatever comes in G5. So, thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.